Hi everyone. We would just like me to let everyone know that there is some pizza and sweets downstairs for everybody, as well as some coffee, tea, and drinks. If you'd like to go downstairs and to mingle a little bit before the ceremony starts. Thanks.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight, as we gather to mourn the loss of two of our University of Guelph students, Ghanimat Azhdari and Milad Ghasemi Ariani, who were killed in Wednesday's plane crash in Iran. My name is Sonia Winter, coordinator of multi-faith programs here at the university, and I'd like to begin by taking a moment to reflect on the land on which we gather and recognize our relationships here and abroad in the places we call home. At this difficult time, we gather as a university community in connection with the wider Guelph community and with the rest of our nation to remember the remarkable lives of two of our members, to grieve together, and to express our support and solidarity for each other, now and in the days ahead. Even during their short time here, Ghanimat and Milad touched this campus in myriad ways. Ghanimat arrived on campus in September 2019 to pursue her PhD in the Department of Geography, Environment, and Geomatics. Milad began his PhD program in May 2019 in the Department of Marketing and Consumer Studies. We will be hearing tonight from members of the university community, including Ghanimat and Milad's academic mentors and some of their friends. We think of their families in Iran and are making a recording of this evening available to them. Wednesday's tragedy was a profound loss for our university community, and it joined us in somber connection to the other universities and communities in the province and around the country that are also impacted by the loss of so many talented and beloved people. We are particularly aware that two members in the wider Guelph Ariani community also lost their lives. The losses have highlighted the many achievements, the valued contributions, and the deep friendships that anchor the Iranian community, the Iranian Canadian community within our country, our communities, and our hearts. Here in Guelph, we join together in this time of national mourning and national solidarity. And we come together tonight to tell stories, to extend our hands to one another in connection and support, to share words of comfort, and to assure one another that none of us is alone. We begin this evening by hearing from Mana Fazai, a member of the Guelph Iranian Student Association, who along with other association members has been instrumental in planning this evening. Mana.
Hi everybody. Writing this speech has been one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, and I could not help to notice how sometimes words are so helpless in expressing certain feelings, certain sadnesses, like this one, so deep, so crushing. But at last, words were my only tool to pay my thanks to each and every one of you here tonight, to honor and celebrate Ghanimat and Milad's life. As you all know, 2 days ago, the world lost some of its most beautiful souls in an airplane crash, and two members of our large University of Guelph family were among them, along with many, many others, countless Canadians, Iranians, Ukrainians, and others. I had the honor to know Milad personally and benefit from his wisdom and friendship, despite the short time I knew him. I also had the pleasure of talking to Ghanimat on multiple occasions. Both of them had such lovely, charismatic personalities that touched my heart in many ways that cannot be forgotten. Lastly, I just want to take this time to pay my thanks on behalf of the Iranian Student Association to certain individuals and organizations that went above and beyond to make tonight possible. Rita and the marketing and the Department of Marketing, you guys stood by us from the moment we got the horrible news and created a safe space for us to grieve. Matthew, Catherine, Sonia, Lily, and so many other people that I will not be able to name all, and the wonderful student experience team. Tonight simply would not have been possible without you guys. The hospitality team, counseling services, and so many others. A thank you is not enough, but it's the best I can do. And I would like to finish this up with a line from Hafez. شرحین قصه مگر شم برآورد زبان کنم پروانه ندارد به سخن فرمایی. Thank you.
We are honored tonight to be joined by Lloyd Longfield, Member of Parliament, who will share a few words with us.
Thank you, and thank you especially to the students for bringing us together on a really difficult night, on a difficult week. It's hard to believe that it was only Wednesday. When I think of how many conversations we've had, and when we look at the news reports and how Faizullah so eloquently and with such dignity told us about Ghanimat and Ghanimat's contribution to biodiversity and to indigenous studies, and how much more was left to be brought forward. Unfortunately, other people will have to carry the torch. And also, Milad, going through PhD in the studies, the people that come to Canada to make their lives better, to make their communities better, to make the world better, and then to lose them in an instant on Wednesday. Since Wednesday, we've had 2 cross-Canada conversations with members of Parliament being briefed. This afternoon, we had a briefing with our Minister of Foreign Affairs, with our Minister of Defense, with our Minister of Transportation, to tell us what the current state is of our getting on the ground in Iran. And by tomorrow, we hope to have 10 people on the ground. And in the meantime, we've assembled an international response team with many countries that are helping us through these terrible times. Countries like the Netherlands, who also went through a similar situation, losing citizens on a private airline being shot down. Countries like Italy, that have been helping us as our force on the ground in Iran. And Switzerland, who's the Iran force on the ground in Canada. So an international response is being formulated. Canada is leading in this. Our Minister of Transport told us that we have experts that are international experts from Canada that will be there to look at the data as it comes off the black box. And we're negotiating so that we can be part of that, so that we can bring what we can to get the answers that the world deserves and that the families deserve, so that they know how this occurred, and hopefully justice is done at the end of the day. But beyond justice, we need to understand each other. We have to understand the role that hate plays, the role that fighting hate plays in the world, and how as communities and as people we have to get together to push back against those forces, so that these incredible lives that we've just lost are honored, and that more incredible lives can come forward to help us get through the days ahead, the weeks ahead, and continue some of the amazing work that these young people have been doing. So thank you to the young people for bringing us together tonight. On behalf of the Prime Minister and the ministers that are all working on this, we are grieving with the families, we're grieving with our communities, and we hope that we'll have some better days ahead.
We're also honored to have with us tonight Mike Schreiner, Member of Provincial Parliament for Guelph, to bring us some words.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. And I too want to thank the Student Association for bringing us all together to celebrate Ghanimat and Milad's life, to remember them, and to honor them. And I feel so much love in this room. And that's really what we need after what's been a devastating and heartbreaking week. And I think it's so important for members of the broader Guelph community to stand in solidarity with the university, with the Iranian community, to show our love and our support and our caring for each other. Because one of the things that I think makes Guelph such a wonderful place is that we are a caring and inclusive community. We are a community that comes together in the face of tragedy and says that that tragedy will not be in vain, that love will overcome hate, that togetherness will overcome isolation. And I know I've spoken to many people in the university communities across Ontario and across the country, and to lose so many bright minds, and particularly the two bright minds with such promising futures here in Guelph, I know it's heartbreaking. And so I just want to conclude by saying that I know the university is providing so many supports for anybody in need. But if there is anyone in the community, university or otherwise, that needs support, counseling services, a friend to lean on, somebody to talk to, don't hesitate to reach out to my office. And we can help you find the support that you need. And so thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being here tonight. I think it's so important that we share this moment together.
I'd like now to introduce Dr. Franco Vaccarino, President and Vice Chancellor of the University of Guelph.
Thank you very much, Sonia, and welcome, and thank you to all for coming together tonight to honor and to remember our beloved students, Ghanimat Azhdari and Milad Ghasemi Ariani. Any loss to our community, our campus community, touches all of us in powerful ways, and it's my hope that tonight we can comfort and reach out to one another. I would like to add my own voice as a special thanks and appreciation to the Guelph Iranian Student Association and all the students who've helped organize tonight's vigil. I have to say that your thoughtfulness, your compassion, and your deep sense of caring and respect shines through every element of tonight's program in this vigil. Tonight we also remember Dr. Parisa Ekbalian and her daughter Rira Ismailian of Guelph. We offer our deepest and our heartfelt sympathies to their families, to their friends, and colleagues. We also offer our deepest and heartfelt sympathies to all the communities and all individuals, people impacted by this tragic event across our country. I do hope that we can find some peace today as we come together in mourning, as we come together in remembrance, and as we come together in solidarity. You know, this evening's vigil is a reminder of the vulnerability and I would say the imperfections of the human condition. And yet, at the same time, it's also a powerful reminder, this vigil is also a powerful reminder of the strength of our shared common humanity as we come together this evening. In our Department of Geography, Environment, and Geomatics, Ghanimat was studying biocultural conservation with an emphasis on protection of traditional territories and support for indigenous people of Iran. You have to know that this is an incredibly timely and hugely important issue, not only for Iran, but for our own country, where Ghanimat had planned to apply her learning to a project of indigenous peoples in Atlantic Canada. Milad was studying consumer behavior in the Department of Marketing and Consumer Studies. You should know, he took on a very challenging project that saw him take additional courses, and this was done on his own time, on his own volition, to learn what he needed to know and what he needed to learn in order to analyze the complex elements of the research data that he was dealing with. And this was a testament to Milad's professionalism, his industriousness, and his commitment to his field. In their time here at the University of Guelph, Ghanimat and Milad demonstrated qualities that are a real point of pride for our community, and I would say a high bar for all of us. Commitment to ongoing learning, a powerful sense of collaboration, a powerful sense of coming together, working together, and an enormous spirit of curiosity and generosity. Qualities that they had and that help define what this campus and our wider community is all about. We are all so deeply affected and saddened by these lost lives and lost potential. They had an incredible future ahead of them. And the ripple effects of this community loss goes wide and it goes deep. And it was wonderful to see our elected officials with us today. Lloyd and Mike, and your words were very powerful. Again, a reminder of the deep and wide impact that these students had. Indeed, just on my way here, I received a call from the Minister of Colleges and Universities, the Government of Ontario, expressing his deep sympathies and condolences. This is Minister Romano. So again, the ripple effects are huge and wide. As a university that has an incredibly strong community, we commit to remembering our community's loss as we reflect on all those lost this week. And we recommit ourselves to upholding the values and the ideals that they demonstrated through their lives and through their long-lasting contributions. Over 20 universities across Canada lost faculty, staff, and students this week. And we stand with our colleagues today to remember these lives. Thank you.
I'd like now to invite forward Dr. Noella Gray, Graduate Coordinator in the Department of Geography, Environment, and Geomatics, where Ghanimat studied.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Noella Gray. As I'm blanking on your name right now. This is one of those nights. I'm sorry. So just introduced, a faculty member in the Department of Geography, Environment, and Geomatics. I'd like to begin by sharing a few words on behalf of Dr. Faisal Mullah, who could not be here this evening. Faisal is Ghanimat's PhD advisor, and he wanted to share these words with you. Among the 176 people who died in the Ukraine International Airlines flight earlier this week was my PhD student, Ghanimat Azhdari. Ghanimat had been in Iran over the December holiday break to visit family and was returning to the University of Guelph, where she was a student in my lab. Ghanimat was an indigenous person who was born into the nomadic Qashqai tribe in southwestern Iran. And like indigenous peoples across the planet, including many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people here in Canada, Ghanimat had a very strong personal relationship to her ancestral territories in Iran. These consist of vast arid grasslands, rangelands, and deserts. And scientists now believe that over 80% of the world's biodiversity is found in indigenous and tribal lands, such as the great forests of the Amazon, of our boreal forest here in Canada, as well as the arid regions, such as Ghanimat's territory in Iran. She had dedicated her life to protecting these places, which she would often describe in lab meetings as territories of life. They are not just the habitat of endangered plants and animals, but also the ancient landscapes that have sustained indigenous peoples like Ghanimat's community for thousands of years. Ghanimat's PhD thesis was devoted to exploring the biocultural richness of indigenous lands, such as the sacred mountains and rivers, berry picking areas, and places where medicinal plants are harvested. Using participatory community mapping methods, Ghanimat had become an expert in working with local tribes to collect and map these critical areas of both ecological and cultural significance. Well suited for this type of research, as she could easily slip between two worlds. The indigenous world, in which sophisticated ecological knowledge about plants and animals is captured in not just language, but song and cultural traditions, as well as the Western science world of data, satellite images, statistical analyses. For her PhD dissertation, Ghanimat had hoped to partner with First Nations in Canada to begin mapping the biocultural richness of the boreal forest using participatory mapping methods as well as remote sensing and geographic information systems. Her first meeting with the Mi'kmaq First Nation in Newfoundland was scheduled for next month. In an email that she sent to Faisal from Iran just a few days ago, she described her excitement about meeting the community for the first time and her worry that her winter boots and jacket might not be up to the task for that notoriously biting Newfoundland winter. The loss of Ghanimat Azhdari, as well as so many other talented students, faculty, in that Tehran air disaster is devastating for university communities across the country. The one thing that brings me a little comfort in coping with Ghanimat's death is the knowledge that my dear student and friend was a powerful and passionate young leader in defense of Indigenous peoples, and that her life's work will continue. I want to add briefly to Faisal's words because I also had the incredible privilege and pleasure of getting to know Ghanimat over these past few months. Ghanimat was a giant-sized personality in a petite body. Faisal describes her as an absolute firecracker, and it's a perfect metaphor. Firecrackers are tiny little packages that produce an immense amount of light, lighting up dark night skies and gathering people together in their glow. And I speak from experience that Ghanimat's smile could light up a room, and she always had one ready to share. Her energy and her positivity were infectious. In addition to Ghanimat's work in Iran and her proposed work here with First Nations in Canada, she was also very involved at the international level. She was an esteemed and beloved member of the Indigenous and Community Conserved Area Consortium, an international organization that works to advance Indigenous peoples' rights in relation to international environmental agreements and policies, and to document Indigenous peoples' territories of life. And just this past November, I had the opportunity to spend some time with Ghanimat in Montreal, where she was participating as a formal representative in workshops and negotiations related to the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. Ghanimat was a passionate activist, not afraid to take the microphone in an auditorium full of diplomats and speak truth to power. And here I quote directly from Ghanimat's own statement to that UN body to share her words with you. She said to that room full of government diplomats that any new global conservation targets must give full and appropriate recognition of and support for Indigenous people and communities' rights and responsibilities to their collective territories, lands, and waters. She was equally comfortable in the classroom, where she was an enthusiastic participant in all of our class discussions, not afraid to tackle feminism, post-colonialism, critical realism, and all the other isms I've made them study this fall, and also never taking herself too seriously. Like many of her peers, Ghanimat was an international student who bravely began PhD studies in a new country. When we initially offered her admission to the program, Ghanimat responded to me in an email that she could cry from the happiness. She was so honored to be given this chance. It is we who are honored that Ghanimat chose to join us. For those of you who knew Ghanimat, I hope these words do justice to your own memories of her and your relationships with her. And for those of you who did not know her, I hope this helps you to appreciate what an incredible person she is. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight to honor and celebrate both Ghanimat and Milad's lives and to grieve this tremendous loss together. May we take comfort from one another in the days and weeks to come. Thank you.
Our next two speakers are two friends of Ghanimat, Sahar Alijani and Emily Smith.
We are first-year PhD students in the Department of Geography, Environment, and Geomatics, classmates of Ghanimat. As you can see, we are a small group, and given the intensity of the first semester, we got to know Ghanimat closely over the past 4 months. We would like to share a few memories and a letter to Ghanimat. Ghanimat was very dedicated to her health. One day she explained to a classmate how she was struggling with readings, had a sore throat, had lots of marking to do, but was still going to make it to the gym. She often came to class with snacks and boasted of the benefits of sprouted chickpeas.
"You'll get so much energy," she said. She loved music. When we began to organize our Christmas video, Ghanimat received one of the songs we were to use via WhatsApp. Despite being in a meeting at the time, she told us that she immediately started to dance. Ghanimat made it no secret how difficult the first semester was. She often told us how much marking she had to do, how tired she was, but she always did so with a smile. While waiting for her flight to go home for the holidays, she sent us a selfie. She was sitting in the airport lounge, laptop in front of her, working on her annotated bibliography. It was due in a few hours, and we all felt the pressure. Her beautiful energy, her smile, and her dedication will be missed by all of us, along with the others that she touched. We'd like to share with you a letter to Ghanimat, first in Farsi.
تقدیم به غنیمت. غنیمت جان، ما منتظر آمدنت بودیم. چطور توانستی ما را تا ابد منتظر نگه بداری؟ چطور دیگر نتوانیم خنده های زیبایت، قلب بزرگ و روح عظیمت را ببینیم و حس کنیم؟ این چه یادگاری بود که برای ما به جای گذاشتی؟ غنیمت جان، باور نمی کنیم که در صوب عزایت نشسته ایم و اینطور عاجزانه صدایت میزنیم. آیا صدایمان را میشنوی؟ آیا اینکه به زبان مادری صدایت میزنیم برایت آشناتر است؟ تو با رفتنت قلبمان را به درد آوردی. چطور دلت آمد همه را رها کنی؟ ای کاش زمان به عقب برمیگشت. ای کاش همه اینها فقط خواب بود. ای کاش برمیگشتی. ای کاش صدای من را بشنوی. غنیمت عزیزم، ما هرگز لبخند همیشگی و زیبایت را فراموش نخواهیم کرد و قلبمان تا ابد برایت می‌تپد.
Dear Ghanimat, what an impression you have made. We were waiting for you to join us again, and now we'll be waiting forever. How can we continue without your beautiful laughter, your big heart, and your amazing spirit? Is this the souvenir you are leaving us with? Dear Ghanimat, we can't believe we are here today at your memorial and we're helplessly calling out to you. Do you hear us? Will calling out in your mother tongue help you to hear us? With your passing, our hearts have been broken. We wish we could go back in the past. We wish you could be here and that all of this was just a dream. We hope you hear us. Dear Ghanimat, we will never forget your beautiful smile, and our hearts will beat for you Our hearts will beat for you forever.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Dr. Tawheed Islam, professor in the Department of Marketing and Consumer Studies and PhD advisor to Milad.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for coming to remember Milad and Ghanimat. So it's a very difficult time for me and for our department. I'll just briefly say how he came here and what research he was doing. So he joined us in May, 2019, so about 8 months. But I know him for about 5 years because he applied to our PhD program 5 years back. So he found out and did research and wants to come to help. And I was that time in a graduate program admission committee, and he was also interested to my research in new product and innovation. So we interviewed him and we made him an offer. So I'm saying 5 years back, I think so 2014. And then what happened, he also was trying to get into US universities, and he got an offer from one of the top US universities that time. And generally what happens when you got a much better offer, you don't come back to us and say like what happened. But that was an exception, because then he came back to me, said, Dr. Islam, that I have this offer and what do I do? And I'm really interested to go to Guel, but this is the offer, this is the money. And I looked the offer, I said, look, it's all about you, not about us. So we are trying to help you. You go to US, so that's fine. And if you want to do research with us, you'll be able to do that. Then he tried for, then he declined our offer, and then he was trying to get into US. But his visa got delayed and the offer expired. So generally, that happened, and so then he was again come back to us that we want to come back to Guelph. So 3 years back, he again said, okay, I want to come to Guelph again. Then I said, okay, apply again, and I was that time grad coordinator, and then we convinced other committee members, and we made him an offer again, so 3 years back. And then it took about 1.5 years to Canadian embassy to give him visa. And we had to extend his offer, I think so multiple times, 5 or 6 times. Because it's very difficult when you make an offer, it is time bound. And every time you change the offer, you need to convince your chair, dean, Ben Bradshaw, and all other people. And your financial package is also changing. So, because he was very much motivated to come here. He liked us, the department. He thought it's very welcoming. And we also liked him because, we saw that he has a strength because his background was engineering. So we thought about for modeling, and he did an MBA. And so lastly, at the end, so generally we don't accept students in summer. Because of his delay, he came in May. And that time I offered him 2 courses because, generally we don't have courses in summer. So, and briefly what he was interested in, it is one of my project under Shark Grant. It is combining multiple sources of data. So generally what happens, context of the research is when you have a new product, or you want to modify a new product, you need to make decision about investment in future, but you don't have a real purchase data. So in such a situation, what do you do? So generally people they do choice experiment and survey and see whether people will like the product or not and make the decision. But generally what happens, what people are saying today, they may not do actually when the product comes to the market. So my project was, last 4 years, I followed up 10,000 people on 6 product categories. These are the new product. So before product launch, we went to people, say whether you will buy the product. And they will say, okay, this and that. And we followed up those people for 4 years. And we collected actually what they did. So we have the data, what people say, and we have the data, what people do. And this data modeling is difficult because this is a challenging topic, because when you are asking people what they will do, the data is different, buy, no buy. But when you are collecting from the market data, they are quantity, price, this and that. So it was a kind of complex, multiple, difficult project. And in the summer, and you need multiple level of expertise. You need to know choice experiment. You need to model multiple sources of data. But he took one course with me on choice experiment, and then he did the literature review. And generally, PhD students in our department start their research in generally 3rd year after completing 2 years coursework. But from the day one, he was motivated, and he has done the literature review. And his plan was to write one review paper in summer. Then when you are modeling such different sources of data, different way you can do it, because you need econometrics model. So for that reason, he took 2 economics courses last semester, micro and the econometrics. And this semester, he was supposed to take econometrics too. So he was getting training to model these different sources of data. So another option is to model this data using machine learning. So his plan was to take, stat department machine learning courses, and to connect with he already connected some of the Iranian students engineering departments, because they are also doing machine learning. So he was pretty much, we generally think about multiple essays. So he had an idea about 4 essays, like doing a review paper, model it econometrically, model it machine learning, and also design some new experimental design. And I have never seen, so he was very bright. I was very happy to get him into this challenging project. And I was waiting for him for 5 years, and then he started the project, and then this happened. And I hope someone will carry forward, and he moved the project to a different level. So in future publication, I hope to put his name and to remember him, because he already have an idea of 4 essays, so at some stage this will be published. And other than that, because what I've seen, he was very determined, wants to do PhD, very focused, and very forthcoming also, because I remember him like 5 years back. First thing I asked him, you have an engineering background, why do you think you are a good student for a marketing department, or like that? And he said, look, you have a similar background. He just, we are Skype call, because my background is engineering. I did an MBA and a PhD. So he has a similar background. So when he was talking, he was pretty much like, he has done the research and what he wants to do. So, that's all I want to say, because, it's a great loss, for our department. And, we had a department meeting the other day. He touched everybody, because he was just like a counselor, because we know the PhD students are mature students, and they have financial problem, they have academic problem, they have family problem. And he was running around and helping different students, like a mentor or counselor like that. So, it will have a long-lasting, impact on me and also my family, because they know my PhD students and others. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I'd now like to invite forward Dr. Nadège Levalier from the Lang School of Business and Economics.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a faculty member in the Lang School of Business, and Milad was a graduate teaching assistant who worked with me and my team as we were teaching Management 4000, a capstone course for the Lang School of Business. I met Milad for the first time in August of last year. It feels like it was so much longer ago than it was. And Milad wanted to apply to be a teaching assistant for the course. He loved strategy, and the course is a lot about strategy. And he wanted to make an impact on students, and he wanted to make an impact right away. And we had a conversation, and I knew right away that he would be a great addition to the team. He was very confident, but fun, kind, and really committed to the success of our undergrads. His past experience in Iran made him a perfect candidate. In my course, we do live client projects throughout the semester, and GTAs are not only here to grade, they're mostly here to coach and support and mentor the undergrad students as they go through that project. And I'm really only here to do lecture. They do all the work, and work with the students in Milad. Took on 3 sections of this big course. It's 400 students, and he did not disappoint. So he was a wonderful addition to the teaching team. We are a team of 7, me and the other GTAs. He was always there for us. He was always good at reminding us what we had said 3 weeks before when I forgot. He was always there to calm us down when we had heated arguments. And also he was always the first one to move into execution mode when we were talking about challenges and discussing options. He always had great suggestions, but we did not always take his suggestions on, and sometimes we went with another route, and he was the first one to just move on, to say, okay, fine, let's do it. He would never complain. He was always willing to share and also to just execute like a great team player that he was. With the students, he was also a great leader. He really impacted these students in this semester that he was with us teaching the course. And if you allow me, I'd like to read an email that I received from one of his students last semester that really, I think, summarizes well how Milad was as a teacher in the classroom. Out of my 4 years at U of G, Milad was the nicest and most helpful TA I've had. I am sure you remember my group from Management 4000 and the disaster of a presentation we had for the poster pitch in seminar. Both you and Milad were the most helpful in recovering our poster and concept into something tangible and attainable to pitch in front of the executives. They were presenting, they were doing a big poster competition. Regardless of the issues my group had, Milad was there to support me and my group. We bounced ideas off each other countless times, trying to perfect our presentation. He met with us outside of seminar time. He was the most helpful and most importantly, optimistic about our results. I am truly gutted about the news of Milad's tragic passing. I pass on my condolences to yourself and your whole teaching team who got to know him better than I ever had the chance to. I give so much credit to Milad for my success in your class. I believe Milad was an asset to our school and the diverse background he brought to this course. As you can see, in the very short time that Milad was with us at the university, he impacted a lot of lives. All of you friends who are here and all of us faculty, our undergrad students, we will, in our team, are learning to go on without him. We will miss him tremendously, and we try to remember and cherish all the great moments that we had with him. Thank you.
I'd like now to welcome Sepide Talebi, a friend of Milad's.
Hello, everyone. I never imagined that there would be a day that I have to speak in Milad's memorial. But I couldn't resist not to talk about Milad. None of us has not believed yet he never come back. But this changed nothing. We lost our friend, brother, and patron just in the moment that we were planning his welcome after 3 weeks. Milad was very intelligent, supportive, hardworking, kind, and full of life. And everyone who knew him can attest. My mind is full of memories. Which are playing like a movie in my brain since Wednesday and making this step harder to pass. For the past few months, me, Nasran, and Milad were very close to each other. We studied together at library, ate lunch together, and most of the times we gathered together for dinner at our house. And when one of us was not in mood, Milad, with his sense of humor, made us laugh. He always opened up time in his busy schedule to help others. The last night before his flight to Iran, also he offered us 2 hours to help us and find a situation for our problem. I can remember the times he was explaining the topics that I didn't understand. I was sitting in front of him and he wrote the equation upside down. When I asked him why, he told me it is easier for you to read. He enjoyed sharing his happiness with others. He always came with Timbits that he loved and cookies and shared with us while we were studying. I cannot forget the nights that we had to study till midnight. And he never gave up, even in the last moments. Always before exams, he called me and encouraged me to keep going. He was interested in literature and poems. Times and times, he sent us beautiful quotes. The last night, the night that everything finished for us, we were eating the cookies that he bought. Rasul texted Milad, and he responded, "Go to sleep. I will be with you tomorrow." But maybe these memories seem like little things, but for us who are far apart from our families, these small pleasures are all of our world. Finally, I want to appreciate all of my friends and professors who help us to tolerate this pain. Thank you so much.
I'd like to invite forward Marzia Yagini, another friend of Milad.
Hello everyone. I lost lots of friends, my dear and precious friends, in this heartbreaking tragedy. My thoughts are with them, their families. Milad was my only fellow in marketing PhD program, and I've known him for a long time from my master's degree at Sharif University. He was smart, hardworking, and ambitious, who always was trying hard to do his best. He was very helpful to me when I arrived to the campus last September, and it was extremely unbelievable to me when I found out about the crash. I had a dream of Milad that night. We had a common flight to Canada, and I made to get into the plane, but Milad was not there. In my dream, I felt a deepest grief because I thought Milad had passed away. But I figured out that he was on the other side of a long, beautiful bridge, while he was extremely happy. Indeed, tonight I'm among you only by chance. I was supposed to be at that flight. What makes this tragic loss more unbearing and frustrating for me is the fact that I had to cancel the same flight at the last moment. My heart goes out to every last seconds of my friends in this crash. I'm thinking of their last unfinished messages. I'm thinking of their last goodbye to their families at the airport. I'm thinking of their last talks to each other. I'm thinking of their last dreams and regrets. I'm thinking of their last hopes and fears. I even can't imagine how much hard it can be for their families. We can't imagine how short life can be. As a person whose life has been granted to her at her birthday anniversary, and on behalf of Milad, Ghanimat, and other my friends in this tragic crash, I invite all of you to appreciate every second of togetherness, friendship, kindness in this short opportunity of life. Thank you.
Our second to last speaker of the evening is David Saeed, President of the Graduate Students Association.
Good evening. Thank you all for joining us tonight to honor the lives of our dear colleagues Ghanimat and Milad, whose lives have been tragically taken away from us. My name is David Saeed. I have the honor and privilege of representing our graduate student body at the University of Guelph as the president and CEO of the Graduate Student Association. It is with a very heavy heart that I join you this evening to remember Ghanimat and Milad as members of our university community and who were a part of our graduate student family. For as long as the University of Guelph has remained open, students, faculty, staff, administrators, and residents of this city, all coming from different walks of life, have gathered to work, learn, and grow together. We have come together to improve life, but more importantly, we have come together to create a community and a family amongst ourselves, of which Ghanimat and Milad were a part of in many ways. They had a passion for learning as students and a desire for the truth as researchers. They were our friends, our colleagues, our brother, our sister. They shared with us a commitment to strengthen our relationships with one another and a dedication to improve life. Our community today is filled with anguish and sorrow and pain as we lament the sudden loss of our beloved friends. And though we are deeply saddened by this tragic event, we must find the strength to not let this loss go in vain. Our friends' academic work, social relationships, and presence on campus has been exemplary, and their tragic loss is a reminder to us all that we are part of a greater bond. And when that bond is broken, we are no longer the same. I'm reminded of a part of a saying from the Persian poet Saadi Shirazi, who reminds us that human beings are a member of a whole creation of one essence and soul. If one member is afflicted with pain, other members uneasy will remain. Ghanimat and Milad will forever remain part of our university community and graduate student family. Their memory will live on, and the love we have for them in our hearts will never fade. In the upcoming fall of 2020, our beloved colleagues will be honored and remembered through a student memorial tree dedication. The student memorial tree dedication will recognize the contributions of Ghanimat and Milad. By dedicating a tree in the arboretum in their name, it is our hope to create a lasting place to remember them on our campus community. On behalf of the Graduate Students Association, I offer my deepest condolences to the families and loved ones of Milad and Ghanimat, and to Professor Tawhid Islam, Professor Faisal Mullah, and to all the members of the Department of Marketing and Consumer Studies in the Lang School of Business and Economics and the Department of Geography, Environment and Geomatics in the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences.
We've received one more letter from a friend of Milad's in Iran that will be read by one of the members of our community.
Hello, my name is Masa. I'm one of the executives of the Iranian Student Association. So we received a message from Sajjad Abdoli, which is one of Milad's friends, and it was very important to him that we read this letter. It is hard to believe that Milad Ghasemi Ariani, a kind friend, a dedicated colleague, a no-debt national organization for development and exceptional talents of Iran, and Sharif University alumni, has left us. I lost one of my dearest friends. He was my nice colleague in Iran. Everybody was amazed by his talent and communication skills. He had a habit to help others in hard moments. He was always there for me whenever I was overwhelmed by my tasks. Such a good mentor he was. I came to Canada about 1 year earlier than him. We had a plan to move to and settle in Toronto after our PhD studies, so we could be close to each other again. He had a lengthy visa process. I remember about 1 year ago, I received a voice message from him about his visa approval. He was incredibly happy to start his PhD at the University of Guelph. That was the best message that I could receive on that cold morning in Montreal. Unbelievably, 1 year later, I received this message. Milad was among the passengers of Flight 752. Now I need to carry on without one of my treasured friends. I will follow his dreams too. On behalf of Milad, I need to thank his supervisor, Professor Tawhidul Islam. Milad told me many times that Prof. Islam has been so supportive both during his visa process and his PhD program. You will be in my heart forever, dear Milad. Sajjad Abduli. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Dr. Ben Bradshaw, Assistant Vice President, Graduate Studies.
I'm grateful to be able to join the vigil tonight to remember and mourn the loss of Ghanimat and Milad, both in my role as an assistant vice president here at the University of Guelph with responsibility for graduate studies, and as a Canadian and global citizen who, like all of you, has spent the week trying to process and make sense of previously unimaginable events. Many thoughtful words have already been expressed about Ghanimat and Milad, and so I will not add mine, though I must say that I was fortunate enough to have met one of the deceased and even experienced some of their magnetism. I would, however, like to take a moment to speak directly to some of the University of Guelph's 572 international graduate students who, like Ghanimat and Milad, bravely left their home country to come to Canada to expand their knowledge, their opportunities, and ultimately their world. I would like to explicitly acknowledge the many sacrifices that you have made to come here and to thank you for doing so. By coming to the University of Guelph, Ghanimat and Milad, like all of you, have of course also expanded our knowledge, our opportunities, and our worlds. Let's continue to spread and expand our worlds. Thank you.
As we prepare to close our time together, I'd like to thank you for being here this evening. Your presence honors the lives of Ghanimat and Milad. I'd like to thank those who spoke and shared stories, who helped us understand in some small way the remarkable lives of these two students. And also, it highlights the depth of the loss that we endure. For those who'd like to gather downstairs for further refreshment and additional time of sharing, you are most welcome. Please also remember that there are services on campus if you find yourself struggling in the coming days. Reach out to someone. Students are encouraged to visit the Student Wellness Services in the J.T. Powell Building, or to contact the Multi-Faith Resource Team, the Crisis Text Line, or an international student advisor. Staff and faculty are encouraged to reach out to the Employee Assistance Program or Human Resources. Thank you to the Iranian Student Association for their help in planning tonight's gathering, and to the various university departments that worked quickly and collaboratively to make this time together possible. As we leave this evening, may we continue to reach out to one another in care, and may we seek to be the hands of peace and the voices of hope in our world. In closing, we will hear a song sung by the U of G choir, conducted by Marta McCarthy. Thank you.